Hello again, everybody. This is Mike Slicker. We're at Lighthouse Books in Dade City. And this year, Diane Keske Talmadge is going to have her artwork here. We invite everybody to come in and enjoy what Diane has put together. Diane, how long have you been in the art world doing your paintings?
Well, I've been painting for over 50 years. Serious painting began when I lived in Brooksville in the 60s and in the 70s. That's a century ago, practically. Anyway, I did start then when my children were old enough to go to school. I started to study art. I went to Tampa once a week from Brooksville and studied with an artist named Christopher Clark, and very good artist. Funky old man, in an attic apartment in Ybor City. It was an experience. I studied with him for a couple of years and learned still life. And I learned that if you can't paint an apple, you can't paint a head, which I don't, a lot of artists may not realize that, but it's very true. Mm-hmm. Then he referred me to an artist in Longboat Key. Her name was Marilyn Bendel, and she was a portrait artist as well as still life. But she was a very good teacher, became my mentor, and I studied with her for 2 or 3 years on and off. And she really taught me how to paint portraits, which is what I wanted to do at the time.
Okay, that was something I was going to ask. You've not drifted, you've focused on portraiture and still lifes. What drew you in that direction?
Well, as a child, I would draw my family members. In fact, I still have those drawings, and they still, even though they're not wonderful, there's still a resemblance to those people. And I just, I wanted to perfect that. Mm-hmm. And so later on in life, that was my goal. But I also love still life. Mm-hmm. I love interesting objects to paint. Mm-hmm. And that's probably my first love at this point in my life, is doing still life.
Well, sort of jumping around here a little bit, if you were out there in the world, an 11-year-old who paints or draws horses and spaceships and such, what would you suggest that their next step be?
Well, I'm not sure if public schools have much art these days. Mm-hmm. I know that my schools in Ohio did when I was there, and I had an excellent teacher in high school, mm-hmm. Which furthered my serious interest. But when I went to college, I studied the sciences. I took one art class, and it was all about abstracts, really. Mm-hmm. And I didn't go for that, so to speak. And so I mostly studied sciences in college, mm-hmm. Ohio State. But later in life, the art came back. Mm-hmm. And so I started a studio in Brooksville. Mm-hmm. Well, let's just say, yeah, it was in Brooksville. It was, my first studio was on the second floor of the radio station. Mm-hmm. And it was wonderful. Ultimately, the radio station was sold, so I had to find a new one. And then I was upstairs in an antique shop. And that lasted for a few years. And then I had a studio on the property. We had a horse barn that was not full of horses. Mm-hmm. So the horses took up part of it, and part of it was remodeled into my studio. And it was lovely, wonderful. It was spacious. Of course, nobody could come in, really, because of where it was located. At the end of a dirt road, over a mile long. So ultimately, I left Brooksville and went to South Florida, remarried, and it was very easy to pick up a portrait career in the area that I lived, and Boca Raton and Deerfield Beach area. And so I did some really wonderful portraits while I lived down there. And
I see over your shoulder there's some wonderful portraits here as well. What can you tell me about that pretty girl and wonderful mother?
Well, that's my youngest daughter. This was when she was a teenager, and so it's an old painting, but I love it.
Mm-hmm.
This smaller one, which is on the cover of my brochure, same gal, later in her life, of course, with her firstborn child. And that was painted, let's see, about 28 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she has that painting. It's a large painting. It's about like that. Mm-hmm. And obviously one of my pride and joy.
Oh, absolutely. Do you still accept commissions and that kind of thing?
Yes. Yes, I'll just leave it there.
Mm-hmm. So, and people can contact you either at this gathering or looking at your card. And I understand you're living now in Zephyrhills, just up
Yes.
the road.
Yes.
And perfect. And these little painting will have some of these things at Lighthouse Books.
Yes, some prints, and I love to do small things. I got into that 10 or 15 years ago, and they're fun to do. They're kind of unique, and they're very gifty. I mean, you could give someone one of these little miniatures for a million different occasions, or just because you want to.
Yeah. I understand you also do some wine glasses.
Oh, I do wine glasses, and I do custom wine glasses. They're crystal. They're made the way you want them, with a name, with a flower, whatever.
Fabulous. What can you tell us about this still life over here with the flowers?
That's a busy one now, isn't it? I had so much fun painting that. That's a recent painting. Actually, it was in a Dade City show a couple of years ago, the original. Mm-hmm. This is a print of the original. Oh, what fun I had.
And we look forward to everybody coming by. The paintings will be here and commissions will be available. And we welcome everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity.